Experiencing chronic illness is an incredibly draining and torturous experience. Mine was particularly related to my stomach and my digestion. I have been incredibly ill for over a year and it's just been going downhill, but to my exceptional relief, I found an answer to the stomach problems I've been facing for over a year, and now I want to share my solution to this awful experience for anyone who might be facing similar issues.
Ideas are nearly as useful as what we do with them.
An idea could escape.
Ideas are bulletproof.
When I say chronic illness, I mean particularly being chronically ill and sick to your stomach, nauseous and unwell, not really chronic pain. A lot of people lump those two together, and I do have chronic pain as well, but with that, it's a different subject to me. What I'm referring to is a stomach problem that I've had for over a year. I believe I developed it sometime around January or February of 2014, and it just kind of went downhill from there. It got worse and worse as my stress got worse and worse, because I wasn't really able to figure out what was going on or what was wrong. It basically started off as this perpetual hunger where every time I ate, I still felt hungry, and it was incredibly frustrating. I would fill myself up, or at least I thought I would, but then I would have this weird kind of empty but bloated, hard to explain feeling in my stomach that would basically confuse me, and I wouldn't really know what to associate it with except that I must still be hungry, and eating a little bit would relieve this, except when I had just eaten, it was very confusing because I felt relatively full, except I was still having this feeling. And as time progressed, it actually led into nausea periods where I would start to feel nauseous when I wasn't eating, and so eating was the solution to that nausea. And going to the doctor about all this, he had no real answer for the perpetual hunger. He said, just if you're hungry, keep eating. And since July, I had actually had a few nausea events where I couldn't make the nausea stop for over 24 hours. I couldn't stop throwing up. I couldn't keep anything down. I didn't know what to do. So I ended up going to the hospital to ask them to help me get it under control so that I could try to start eating again and get my hydration back up. And in July, they offered me all kinds of tests, but I was actually in a different city, so I couldn't get them done. I ended up going home, and by that time, my symptoms had cleared up. So they said, well, just go with this proton pump inhibitor prescription, see how it goes, and take it from there, instead of going through all these procedures to see what's wrong with your stomach. So I did, and it helped at first, but then gradually I started to feel it not working as much, and I started to get nauseous again, and then I found myself back in the hospital again because I couldn't control the nausea. I was nauseous for almost 48 hours, or maybe it was 72, I'm not sure. I couldn't handle it. I needed help. And then I found that if I took the proton pump inhibitor twice a day, that actually helped me manage the symptoms. And so my doctor approved of that, and I started taking a double prescription. But still, the perpetual hunger never went away. I would wake up hungry all the time. I couldn't sleep for more than 5 or 6 hours without waking up desperately hungry. And the nausea spells happened every few months where I just couldn't stop the nausea and I needed help to go to the hospital. And all through this time, during the nausea spells, the things that I found most helpful in dealing with those times and trying to keep my hydration up, and about the only thing my stomach would accept, is always bananas, of course, and then real chicken broth, not the kind that you buy in the box or the can, but like homemade, boiled from chicken bones and vegetables for 8 hours kind of thing. My spouse was kind enough to do that for me in the past year while I was incredibly sick, and each time it was a godsend. I think my hydration would have been 10 times worse if it weren't for the help of that broth. I also found natural mint very soothing to my stomach. And when it came to both the nausea and the acid, just drinking more water was very helpful. Whenever I'd feel a little bit of acid, even today if I feel a little bit of acid, I'll just drink a bit of water, and it really does help my stomach, and it calms down the acid and gets things flowing a little bit better. And my kind friend Nat Lopez actually shared with me that another really good thing to deal with nausea is ginger tea. So all you do is take 1 cup of hot water and mix in 2 tablespoons of ginger, and then however much honey you want to try to kill the flavor of the ginger, and then drink it down. According to Nat, apparently it's not the most flavorful of drinks. I've not actually tried this myself, but he says it's really helpful for nausea. So give it a try if you're having a hard time with that. But ultimately, the main thing that helped me fix my stomach problems was natural yogurt. And I can't remember where I actually first read about natural yogurt being helpful, but when I first tried it, it didn't really go very well because it was incredibly sour. But then my very kind friend Nat suggested that I mix it with the sweet yogurt that I usually eat and give that a try. And so I did, and the results were absolutely freaking amazing. Within 24 hours, I had 2 bowls, that was probably the equivalent of 4 little packages, because I did about half and half. So for 1 little package of sweet yogurt, I had the equivalent amount of natural yogurt because it came in a bigger container. Just to give you an idea of what to look for if you're going to try this, if you're going to try natural yogurt, I just got one of these little containers. I'm going to try and cover up the label because I don't want to have any issues with that. But you can see it says natural yogurt. It's all shiny. Natural yogurt. Right there on it. And then it's not working. You can't see it, but it says with active cultures. I swear it does. And that's what you need to look for. Natural yogurt with active cultures. And it is my godsend when it comes to the hell that I've been through. I was nauseous for weeks, as I was telling you. Well, days and days straight, but for weeks of just like eating a little bit and feeling kind of gross constantly, but being able to eat a bit, and then having those bouts of not being able to eat at all. It's just beyond unpleasant. It's undescribable how awful it is to go through so much nausea constantly and to have it be such a routine thing in your life. And, there's a very good possibility that you could be facing the same symptoms for different reasons. So don't take this as the answer to your problems, but it's just a possibility. And just a final thing to keep in mind in regard to feeling nauseous is I actually read somewhere that you have a chemical in your brain that is increased in secretion when you're tired, and this actually makes you nauseous. I believe it's called acetyl chlorine, but I'm not really sure if that's the correct pronunciation. Regardless, one thing to keep in mind if you're feeling nauseous is to note whether you're tired or not, and keep in mind that maybe it's a sign that you need rest more than anything else. Of course, stress is a huge factor as well. Stress is literally a killer. It can in itself destroy someone's health if it's bad enough, but oftentimes when you're going through symptoms like what I'm describing, you tend to have other issues going on top of that. Even if you're facing a chronic illness that isn't related to the type of symptoms I described, feel free to comment below about your experience with chronic illness. It's just an awful experience to go through, however it is that it affects you, and it does help one way or another to have support and to be able to talk it out with others. So feel free to participate in the conversation and maybe share anything that you found was helpful in dealing with your chronic illness, or if you have other stomach issues and other things that you found helpful in dealing with that, please share that. There's all kinds of different possibilities, as I mentioned, as to what could be causing these symptoms. This is just the solution that I found, and so I wanted to share it for anyone who could be facing similar things. So anyway, I hope you were able to learn a little something about the experience of chronic illness, and if you're facing similar experiences like this, I'm so sorry that you're suffering, but don't feel you have to suffer alone. I care, and there's a lot of people out here who do care, so reach out, feel free to message me, comment below about your experiences, give the yogurt a try if you've never tried that before, try out a few of the other things I mentioned if you hadn't tried them in dealing with your nausea. Never stop trying new things, because it's always possible to finally find that one thing that does help. I was trying for over a year, And I know that's not even that much time compared to how some people suffer, but it felt like forever, and I really understand how it can feel that way. So keep trying, and don't feel that you're alone in this struggle. Reach out. Thank you so much again for watching, and please join me again next week where I try again to share a little something I've learned in life.